So, picture this. It's a busy Friday afternoon. You're sitting at your desk, you're finally wrapping up your week, and then your CEO suddenly walks over and drops this massive, urgent question right on your desk. How many employees joined the company in 2026? Now, on the surface, that sounds like a simple enough question, right? But if you work at a large company, getting that answer is rarely a walk in the park.
You nervously open up the master employee spreadsheet, and you're immediately staring at 50,000 rows of raw, unformatted employee data. And the CEO is just standing there, looking over your shoulder, waiting. You've got a choice here. You could spend the next 3 hours scrolling, filtering, and literally praying your computer doesn't crash as you manually count rows until your eyes cross. Or you can just smile confidently and say, "No problem, I'll just ask the database."
All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring a concept that honestly sounds super intimidating at first, but is actually incredibly straightforward once you shift your perspective. We are talking about SQL. But listen, we aren't going to memorize complicated programming syntax or dig through a dry coding textbook today. Instead, we're looking at SQL through one simple idea: asking the database a question. That's the entire core thesis here. SQL isn't some complex robotic computer language you have to fight with. It is literally just a way of asking structured questions to organize data so you get structured answers back.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Spreadsheet versus Database. Let's take a look at where our business data actually lives.
You know, when we think of data, most of us immediately picture Excel or CSV files. Think of a standard spreadsheet like a single standalone notebook. It's fantastic for jotting things down, making a quick list, or doing some personal back-of-the-napkin calculations. But as a business grows, that notebook gets messy, fast. It becomes incredibly hard to search through. A database, on the other hand, is an entire, systematically organized library. It's purpose-built so that massive amounts of information can be stored securely and searched with lightning speed.
And inside that library, information is organized into tables, kind of like this employee table here. It's just a clean, organized collection of related data. The rows going across, those represent individual records, so one specific employee. And the columns going down, like name, department, or salary, those are the specific attributes about those records. So when you want information, you aren't digging blindly through a messy notebook, you're just pointing directly to the right table in the library.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, the 3 magic words. These are the fundamental vocabulary words you need to start the conversation.
If SQL is just a conversation, well, you need to know how to start talking. The very first magic word is select. Forget the jargon for a second. In plain English, select simply means, what do I want? Are you looking for employee names, their salaries, their joining dates? You just use select to tell the database exactly what specific piece of information you want it to hand back to you.
The second magic word is from. Again, in plain English, from just means, where should I get it from? Going back to our library analogy for a second, the library has hundreds of different bookshelves. The from command simply points the database to the correct table, the specific bookshelf where the information you just asked for is actually stored.
And the third magic word is where. This translates to which records do I want? Think of where as your targeted, ultra-specific filter. You definitely do not want the database to throw all 50,000 records at you, right? You only want the ones you actually care about. Put them all together, and saying select name from employees where department equals sales just means, hey, give me the names from the employees table, but only the ones in the sales department. See? It's literally just an English sentence.
In a real, practical workplace, this where filter is absolutely your best friend. Instantly, you can isolate employees living in Bangalore. You can find everyone who joined after 2025. You can track down products costing more than 10,000 rupees, or maybe just customers from one specific region. The where command instantly narrows thousands of messy records down to a highly relevant handful, and it saves you hours of mindless manual scrolling.
Next up is Section 3, sorting and summarizing. Let's see how we go from pulling basic data to actually refining it for real business decisions.
So once you have your data, you usually want it organized, right? That brings us to order by. In plain English, you're just telling the database, hey, show the results from highest to lowest, or oldest to newest. If you want to see who has the highest salary, you order by salary. If you want to see the most recently hired employees, you order by joining date. It's completely intuitive. You're focusing entirely on the intent of your question, not on some complex syntax.
Now here's the really crucial part. What happens when you need to summarize all that data? Group by is basically the SQL equivalent of an Excel pivot table. And listen, if you've ever battled a pivot table and lost, don't worry, SQL actually makes it so much easier.
It just means you want to put similar things together and summarize them into buckets. And this is the magic of group by in action. Instead of scrolling through 50,000 individual employee rows, you just tell the database to group by department and count the employees. Instantly, you get this beautiful, clean summary. IT has 500, sales has 350, and HR has 120. You have literally transformed thousands of messy rows into a high-level, actionable business summary in a matter of milliseconds.
All right, moving into Section 4, Thinking Like an Analyst. Let's apply everything we just learned to a brand new, real-world scenario.
Imagine your HR head walks into your office this time and asks, which department has the most employees? How do we construct a query from scratch to answer this? Remember, we do not start by panic typing code. We start by thinking.
A good analyst always starts with a mental checklist. First, what info do I need? I need the departments. Second, which table contains it? The employee table. Third, which column should I group by? The department column. Fourth, what should I count? The employees themselves. And fifth, how should I sort the result? Highest to lowest. Just by answering these 5 simple English questions, you have effortlessly written a perfect SQL query. Good SQL always starts with careful thinking and structuring the question. The syntax, that always comes second.
Finally, we reach Section 5, the future of SQL. Let's zoom out a bit and look at why this skill matters so incredibly much today.
Whether you're a data analyst, a data scientist, working on a BI team, or you're an AI engineer, SQL is the common, universal language for interacting with structured business data across almost every modern tech role. Even if you're an HR or business professional who doesn't write code every single day, you're going to work with systems where the data lives in databases. Knowing how to ask that data questions, that makes you incredibly valuable.
Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking right now. Can't artificial intelligence just write the SQL for me these days? Well, yes and no. AI models are fantastic at generating the query syntax quickly, but the human analyst is totally irreplaceable. Why? Because the human ensures it's the actual right question, filtering the correct data. You have to look at the result and know, is this believable? Did the AI completely miss a crucial filter? AI is an incredible co-pilot, for sure, but make no mistake, you are still the one flying the plane.
So, let's return to our original story from the beginning. The CEO is standing right at your desk asking, how many employees joined in 2026? Instead of scrolling through 50,000 rows, you just run through this simple checklist in your head. Select the count of employees from the employee table where the joining date is 2026. Maybe you order by department and group by month. Boom, you have the exact answer in 3 seconds. And honestly, you look like a total wizard.
And that leaves us with a final thought to take away from today's explainer. Are you just writing code, or are you asking the right questions of your data? Because at the end of the day, SQL isn't really about talking to a computer. It's about learning how to be a better interrogator of information. The best analysts don't start with syntax. They start with a really great question. So, what question are you going to ask your data tomorrow?